This segment is brought to you by Jigmaster Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to jigmasters.com and use promo code PNF20 and save 20% off your next jig order today.
Welcome to the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. This is the Final Cast segment with your hosts Brad Hicks and Josh Eldridge, where we cast our final opinions on all products, good and bad. Welcome to the Final Cast. You're listening to the Final Cast on the Paddle and Fin Podcast Network. I'm your host Brad.
And I'm Josh.
This episode, we have a cool segment for you guys planned. We're going to talk about the Plano Edge Series boxes and some Plano storage tackle options. So we brought on Chris Russell from Plano. How you doing? Welcome to the show.
Yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to be here. Appreciate your taking the time to talk about storage boxes, and we're going to keep all that fancy new lure stuff we all buy every year.
Yeah.
Right. Got to protect those jackhammers somehow, right?
Yeah. If you can find them, God, they're worth their weight in gold right now, it seems like.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, we all of us here at Paddle and Fin, we talk about the Plano Edge Series boxes quite a bit, and we thought this would be a good episode to talk about. We see everybody talking about them all the time, so we figured we'd dive in a little deeper and get into it. So let's start off. You just tell a little bit about yourself, where you're from, what you do.
All right, that sounds good. I'm the marketing director for Plano Fishing and Fraybill products as well. I've been lucky enough to be around the industry for almost 20 years. 2020 would have been my 20th ICAST that I would have attended.
Wow.
I started as a retail buyer. I grew up in the Pacific Northwest, fishing for salmon and steelhead in Oregon and Washington. My world kind of moved me around. I kind of talked my way into the fishing industry, and somehow they believed half the stuff I told them at the time. And I went to work for Eagle Claw as their marketing director. I've had the chance to work for Shimano and now over at Plano. So I've been really blessed to work with some really amazing brands, and I get to do marketing all across the country. You know, fishing has taken me to Australia and Japan and Europe, and it's been just a lot of fun learning the whole industry, kind of from coast to coast, fresh and salt. I saltwater fish now a lot because I live in Charleston, chase redfish and sea trout a lot, but I kayak fish as much as I fish out of my saltwater boat as well. So I enjoy kind of doing it all.
You mentioned your 20th year at ICAST, if it happened this year. How different was it from your first year doing it to now?
You know, I as a buyer, it's a whole nother world, of course.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a little easier. It's a lot of people taking you out to fancy dinners and those kind of things. And you don't have quite the schedule because you don't have to worry about setup and tear down on both ends of it. You know, that's where the grind really comes into place. But you know, it's grown a lot. Those early years when I used to go, it was really kind of a flat show. It wasn't growing. The company I worked for, we didn't think it was important enough. I kind of went every other year because ICAST wasn't the draw. You know, there was no digital influencer like the thing we're doing now didn't really exist. So media would be around the show, but they may not cover an item for 90 days, you know, but by the time the magazine went to print or whatever happened. So it's changed a lot more vibrant now. I think there's a lot more excitement. It's faster to market, and I'm disappointed. I didn't get that 20th in a row. You know, it's kind of a bummer. But we did it digitally and virtually, and it came off pretty well for our company overall.
Yeah, it did. I saw a few other companies that did their virtual ICAST, and it was pretty cool. I liked it.
Yeah, we all wish we could be face-to-face, but you make the most of what cards you're dealt, and it was fun. It was a lot of work. It's kind of like a lot of marketing things. You know 50% of it's not going to be any good. You just don't know what's 50% when you're doing it kind of thing. Mm-hmm. And so we learned a lot. I think every company that participated found things that really were successful and some that weren't. And, you know, we'll just go from there and build off of that.
Awesome. Well, you mentioned you kayak fish. What kind of kayak you in?
I've got a native Slayer, and I also have an Old Town kayak. When I was in Colorado for a while, I actually had an Old Town double. I think Loon was the model back in the day before kayak fishing was even cool. We used to go up to the really high mountain lakes and paddle around with my wife and kids. And but now, I've converted and gone to the newer stuff, and they're both great boats. I don't have a brand that I'm really tightly associated with. The native guys are here in the Carolinas, so I really connected with them over the last couple of years, and just enjoy being out and about and getting to do it, get into waters that you can't get to in the bay boat type of thing, and fish the fresh water around here in the kayaks a lot too.
That's cool. So let's just get into the edge boxes, I guess.
All right. Do you want to start with the newest stuff, the stuff we just launched at ICAST, maybe?
Yeah, I haven't seen it yet, so
okay,
this will be interesting.
Well, we'll talk about that. I've got a variety of boxes here, and we'll talk about some of the features in general, and then we'll go into the newest item, the one that won Best of Show for us in tackle storage again this year. But one of the first new items I've got, it's just a small version of the Edge box. It's now in our 3500 size. So a year ago when we launched Edge, we launched it in the 3600 and the 3700. So 3600 is a little bit bigger, 37 even larger than that. But this year, a lot of folks were requesting this small box. They use this for technique-specific tackle storage. Maybe they just live in this platform. One thing about Edge is the features cross all the items. So there's about a dozen very custom features. There's 7 patents rolled into the Edge box that makes them very unique. Some are still pending, but they're all kind of our creation. And, one of my favorites is this latch that you operate with just one hand. And, that has been such a great benefit for so many anglers that you can just use this box. You reach into there, you open it up. You don't have to flip around with latches, on 3 sides like some of the waterproof boxes have. Simple, one of the most simplest designs, but still one of the favorites of people out there.
Yeah, one of the questions I did have too, because and this isn't like a gripe or a con. I think this is just me not being used to that type of box. Because I've used your standard double latch box, and I have trouble actually latching the 3700s with one hand. Okay. I can undo it fine like that, but when I go to snap it, and it's just me, I noticed it because I was thinking about this before the episode actually today, and I was like, what's some of the things that I struggle with it? And that was the first thing that popped in my head. And it's actually, I started to kind of think back to all right, what am I doing that's causing that? And it's actually my hand's not centered, you know what I mean, on the latch itself. Yeah. And you can actually latch one side and not the other side if you have your hand on. And now I don't have, obviously, I only have a 3700, the jig one. Yeah. And I think it's almost like a combination of with the weight of the box with all the jigs, it's causing me to do it too. I'll snap it and be like, I don't think that thing's latched, and it's not. You know what I mean? And
you just have it latched on one side or the other.
Yeah, and
I've done that too.
Other.
One thing that we noticed when we first launched these is our whole life of Plano, which is 60 years. We taught everybody that you open from the bottom first. Yeah. And now we have to teach everybody you do it from the top and then the bottom. And so, it does take a little bit. One thing I will tell you, a box, the thinner the box and the wider, the harder it is to get those to line up perfectly because you just have bigger space. We've noticed it that every once in a while, to be real honest, we get a 37 thin, which this one is, and you can see it's quite a bit thinner. This is the terminal box. But they're a little bit harder to latch than the standard, and the thinner ones almost never, or the standard 36 almost never have the problem. The deeps almost never have it. And I think you're right. It's somewhat just what you can get your hands on, and especially if you're a big guy with big meaty palms, it's even harder to get a hold of it. But it is one of those things that kind of a little muscle memory. Once you do it, it really kind of comes on, and then you're doing it without even thinking about it, kind of thing. So
it was something I noticed that I was doing. I was like, it's not an issue with the box. At first I thought it was. And then I was like, no, I think I'm trying to snap it closed and my hand's not centered in it. And so if I'm using two hands to shut it, it's fine. And I'm like, it's got to be just the placement of my hand when I'm trying to do it quickly and not really paying attention. But I mean, I'm a huge fan of it because the one thing that I really like about that Edge series box is the latch. So it had nothing, I didn't really have a gripe about how it closed because I was like real psyched that it's like a solid seal in a sense all the way down the length of the box, as opposed to just being two latches. And two latches, in my opinion, isn't hard to accidentally knock open. Like if you catch it on something or you turn around and you don't have one side latched all the way and you hit a latch against, say, your tackle, your black pack or whatever you're putting it in, and you potentially have a spill, over the side of your kayak,
Right.
So, I mean, for obviously like big boat world, not a huge deal. You're probably your tackle's going to be contained right there. So for us kayak anglers, it's kind of important to make sure everything is really secure because it's so easy to lose stuff. And that was a huge selling point for me, and the fact that I really dug the clear lid. You can
that's awesome.
See what you have. There's nothing. I mean, I have older Plano like 3500s that I got with my kayak that they're branded. I think it was the Jackson Coos HD that I got, and they're great. And I love them because they're perfect size for like river fishing. But the thing I always can't stand is I'm like, man, because I can never remember what I have where. Like all my stuff I'm the worst when it comes to organization. So sitting there like, I don't know what's in this box or this box or this box because they're all different. It's like, here's a lipless crankbait, here's a popper, here's a jig that I had tied on that I tossed into the box. And the fact that you guys are, doing those clear lids, it's amazing. And it kind of looks good too. It looks good when you got your because that's the only box that I have, my Plano Edge box, that's organized whatsoever. Like,
is that right?
It's just my jig box. It's literally nothing but jig.
Same
Come
here.
over to your house and do a little Plano intervention. Maybe that's what we need. When we started working with Brian Latimer about a year and a half ago, we sent him some stuff, and I sent him like a plastic storage unit, a shelving unit for his garage, and some of our trunks. And he's like, "Man, Chris, this is an intervention series." He said, "I had no idea how bad I was until you told me." So it's pretty funny. I've used that line a lot, but that's Brian Latimer's story. So
that's cool. Yeah, going back to the lid, you guys did mention that it's like a muscle memory thing. If you keep doing that, you get the hang of it pretty quick. And like I like to compare it to like my own like adult fidget spinner because I can sit there and do that for hours. It's fun to do. Yeah.
Wait a minute, dude. You are an adult who owns a fidget spinner. Like half our episodes start. I connect with him and he's sitting there spinning it. Like, see,
it's my wife's.
That's
that's what I would say.
Your wife. Sure.
That's funny.
Well, one of the things on the latch that we get a lot of great comments about is that labeling system too that's built in here. That we all have done that. Maybe we just wrote on it with Sharpie, but on standard plastics that ink doesn't stay or doesn't hold. We put a label on it, you put some tape on it, and write on it, whatever it is. So we just saw that in so many anglers' boxes. One of the things about Edge, we were working on it for about 24 months, and we did over 2,000 angler interviews during the process. Not just our pros, but we went around the country and we went to big tournaments, both professional anglers and the weekend warrior guys. We went to the saltwater, we went to fresh, we talked to big boat guys and kayak anglers and just anywhere we could find people. And 2,000 interviews of what is the biggest problem in tackle storage. And, we've worked hard to try to solve as many as we could. That's where this labeling system really came from. It's kind of a simple idea, but people love the fact that they can label it. And, when they're stacked up in your bag or like you're talking about down in your kayak and maybe they're just racked in there, now you can just look real quick and with a little bit of cleaner, you can change it. So if you want to switch it up and you decide, I don't want to store, chatterbaits in there, that's going to be my rattle trap box, or I'm going to do something else in that. You can change it as you go too.
Yeah, I get a quick question about the label because it reminds me of something. Because I remember when I was like, is this going to stay? I wrote it on there, and you know what it reminds me of? Of where you have to sign your credit cards on the back. Is that the same kind of material?
You know what? I'd have to defer to an engineer. I could lie to you and say absolutely, but I don't really know.
Because somehow that
me,
stuff stays pretty good. I mean, because you write that in pen most of the time, and
Yeah.
I'm always amazed. I'm like, you'd think that would wipe off instantaneously, but it doesn't. And that's how that Edge box label is too. I wrote "Get jiggy with it" on mine. That's what it says, Brad.
Nice. Yeah.
I haven't even wrote on mine yet, and I've had it for.
Well, that's because you don't use
forever.
jigs.
No, man. I still got my chatterbaits and stuff in there though. That's another good thing about the jig box. I store my chatterbaits in there. I store like buzz baits in there, spinner baits. There's room for all of it. It's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've got a lot of folks that have found other things to do with that box, and that's one of the cool things working for Plano. I didn't really know it until I came here, but we build a box and say you should do this with it. Store, in this case, jigs or chatterbaits in it, and then next thing you know, people are putting other stuff in there. We've got. I've seen it on social media. Saltwater captains putting butterfly jigs down in that. I saw some stuff the other day that guys are putting, kind of popping frogs down inside of it. One guy wants to put big tarpon flies in it. So it's kind of every person can kind of make their own way and find something that they're needing to store. We've probably got a solution for them, with a little ingenuity. And when we get to the Flexbox, that's the mother of that whole idea of making it very customizable. So
yeah.
I think the other thing.
Oh no, keep going, man. I was just going to talk to you about the next thing, but fire away.
Just one other thing about the jig box. I always got people asking me questions like how each jig, like if you were to hold the jig box and just shake it with all your jigs in it, would they come loose? Mm-hmm. And I was just gonna say that does absolutely not happen. I did a YouTube video of this on Paddle and Fin's YouTube channel, and I shook that thing. None of them became loose, and I think it's because the weed guard on some of these football jigs, the lid kind of pushes the weed guard down and it holds them in place.
Yep. We have some people that want to stack them too deep, and that sometimes they get loose when you do that because it's kind of a V that grabs the silicone of the skirt. Yeah. So we're using the jig itself to kind of hold it. And if you stack too many in there, you put a big one on the bottom, a small one on the top. Sometimes they don't grab. The other ones, there's a few of those chatterbait items, like they're the ones with the hinged head, like from Freedom Tackle. They make that custom one. It doesn't work great in there. The skirt's not bulky enough. But 90% of jigs, chatterbaits, no matter who makes them, they go in there and they really stay well. Yeah.
There was a lot of complaints of people with specifically with the jackhammer because they're like, it won't stay in there. And it's like, dude, it just happens to be a thin. Dude, it's thin there, like in that spot. Like, I get tired of hearing everybody complain when all the stars don't line up perfectly. I'm like, dude, it fits just about every stinking chatterbait except the $20-something one. And I'm like, figure out something. Like if you know what I mean? I'm like, we're a bunch of DIYers half the time. You know what I mean? And like some new product comes out and everybody's just really quick to want to slam its like one little tiny fault. I'm like, I'm sorry, but Plano wasn't building these around the jackhammer. I'm like, if you got an issue with the jackhammer not fitting, put something around it and just make it a little bit thicker in that spot. That's all you got to do. Like, whether it's like take a little piece of twist tie, I don't care what you use. You know what I mean? Just put something around there. I guarantee it don't take much to get it to stay there, And because I use jackhammers. I just get scared to death to lose them, so I don't even throw them half the time. But I put my jigs in there, and as I'm putting them in there, I realize that putting the jigs in, I can't put my bigger ones side by side. There's just not enough room. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? You gotta actually go space out every other notch or whatever.
Yep.
And that's just gonna happen, And in my eyes, I'm like, okay, this isn't a complaint because Plano's built this with where I could, I have these 1/4 ounce flipping head jigs, and I could put those side by side, and I could fit a ton of them in there. And I mean, I have my first row is all one weight of the same exact style jig.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's cool though is like the next one, I could do it with a 3/8. I could put them side by side. But once I hit that 1/2 ounce, 3/4 ounce, those weights are so big that you can't put them side by side. You could potentially do it, but you're going to end up turning your hooks, because I'm using stand-up jig heads, so they're going to turn them kind of weird, and it's going to be blocking anyways. So it's like, in my eyes, I'm like, well, I tend to throw the 1/4 ounce more. So, but you leave it open for somebody could pile those in there. You're not going to be able to sit there and cater that exactly specific. And I think that's kind of where you guys though are aiming for on the one box you mentioned, where you can make it fully customizable, which was the Flex. Is that correct?
Correct. Yep.
Yeah.
And you're right. I mean, before we even get to Edge, if you just look at stowaways, because we have standard, we have the waterproof, we have what we call hydroflow that you can rinse. They have holes in them so you can wash through them. We have almost 100 stowaways configurations plus Edge now. And, it's really been the mother of invention over the years as new lures have come up. We make a box just for Alabama rigs, and not everybody throws those. But if you do, they are a pain to store, right? They don't go in.
Yeah.
So we made a box just for
You're
that.
Just hanging them from your rearview mirror.
Right.
I'm sorry. So I just thought of the crystal ball.
Right. So, we try to cover all that. And our boys back in the engineering lab and our R&D team, they are always looking for something different. Anytime I go in there, there's crazy materials they've got piled up, or they saw something at Lowe's or Home Depot, and how can I make that into tackle storage? And I mean, it's a never-ending chore because we're never happy, right, as anglers. We always want something better, something faster, something cooler. And the lure companies never stop. They've always got new things going on, frogs and ducks and bats and spiders and who knows what else, kind of thing. So it's tough, but we most certainly try to solve as many problems as we can.
That's what makes the sport interesting, though. All this development and stuff like that.
Yeah. Who would have ever thought your buddy old Glenn was on your show not too long ago, right? And they'd be selling a piece of plastic that big that does nothing. Yeah, can't make enough of them, right? Who would have thought that a couple of years ago, right?
Right.
I was going to ask you about that because he's from South Carolina too, as well, right?
Yeah. Glenn and I get to fish together. He comes in my garage and steals a kayak from me now and again when he's got somebody in town. He's got my garage code. He comes right in.
That's awesome. That's cool. Yeah, we just had him on last weekend. That's cool.
Yep, I saw he was talking about the Ned rig with you guys. So. Yep.
Awesome. Good. Well, you were gonna talk about the next box in your series.
Yeah, I'm just gonna talk a little bit more about a couple features, and then we'll move into the next thing. We talked about the latch, the label. We talked about the clear lid. Mm-hmm. One thing for your viewers out there, one thing we did, we actually put the label inside the lid to tell everybody and kind of demonstrate how clear it is. That does come out though. People can take these out if they want. I see so many boxes with the label still in. And I always give people a hard time. It's kind of like wearing your name tag from the "Hello, my name is" when you're out at the bar. It's kind of like that deal, So.
Or like you buy a car and your license plate cover still has the dealer you bought it from. Like my buddy got mad at me because I left mine on there for years. He's like, "Dude, just give them free advertisement." And I'm like, I could care less. It's a license plate cover, dude.
Yeah.
So little insider tip. These come out. You can take these out anytime you want. So we appreciate the marketing effort on your behalf, but we suggest you take those out. So
the box does the marketing itself, so it's all good.
Well, we appreciate that. So all right, one of the other ones, I went to actually go find my jig box, and I think one of my buddies has it. And I didn't even have it here. I'm digging through my garage this evening, and I'm like, where is that chatterbait jig box? And I think one of my buddies that actually is on the native team actually has it. We were doing some fishing together. So I did grab the terminal box. This has been one of our very most popular boxes. It's the most expensive Edge, but, it is just packed with so many features. all these come with that box in a box kind of feature where you can take these out, and each one of them has its own individual lid. You can mix and match these and move them around. They all dovetail right back in and hold into place. They come in 3 different sizes with the clear lids like this, and they come in 3 configurations designed for weights as well. Those have the labeling system right on the top, and then inside of them is a rubber insert, so it keeps tungsten from tipping and banging around and rattling against each other. So, pretty cool little boxes. A lot of folks really enjoy the terminal box because they can store all those little things. You can grab one of these compartments, like if you're you're drop shotting today, or you're just going to wacky rig. You could just take this, stick it in your pocket, or set this, on your right between your feet on your kayak, and you don't need to get in your main box all day long. You can just have this for some replacement hooks if you're breaking off, or might get hit off something. So just kind of a handy little thing. And we actually launched that this year now in the smaller size too. So it's available in the 3600 size as the terminal box. So for a lot of people, the big one was just too big. And especially, for your audience, kayak anglers, this is such a convenient size. It's easy to store. It comes in a lot of the kayaks. They come loaded with this. We sell them to the Hobie and Jackson and Native ahead of time, so they carry this stuff. We're actually doing a custom one actually for Old Town now with their logo right on it. So we do a lot of work as an OEM customer too for kayak manufacturers. So those little boxes inside of there, can you buy those separately if you lose one? You chewed me right up. We just started selling those, actually.
Awesome.
So I was wondering if I could bait you into asking me that question. No, we got a lot of requests for this as these individual, we call retainers. Mm-hmm. So this is one, that'll come just like this. You get them one at a time. They're all $3.99. You actually get multiples of the small one, or just one of the big ones or the other ones. And they're all going to be available this fall. So now if you buy this, this size box and you want to change it, if you buy this new 3500 size, they actually go in there. They'll fit in that. And we make the 3700 thin that is a little bit thinner profile, and they'll go in that. So there's actually 4 edge boxes that these retainers will fit in. So you don't have to have a whole terminal box. You could just put 1 or 2 of these in a box, a rigging box or a technique box that you could customize and put a few of these in there if you chose to do that now. So
that's a really good idea.
Yeah, people like these a lot, and it's almost like that was one of the first things we got asked is, I want just a tungsten box, and so I need more weight retainers, or I want just a hook box, but I fish smaller stuff and I need just small things. If they're a trout guy or maybe a walleye angler or whatever, they don't want the big ones, they just want the small ones. So now they can mix and match and customize that box any way they want.
That's cool.
Yep.
Very cool.
Yep. All right. Well, let's talk about our newest ones if you want, and that is the Edge Flex. So this is the newest box. It comes in the 3600 size, which we just showed, and the 37. I've got that one here too. Like we talked about, every Edge feature is still in the Flexbox. So one-handed latch, clear lid, label. It's got the rust preventative inside the box itself that goes to work as soon as you close the lid. It's got the water wick divider that removes moisture if it gets in. Josh, you talked about the O-ring seal all the way around. Everything about Edge is the same, but what you get is a pile of dividers, 38 different dividers, and the box is wide open when you get it.
That's cool.
So I think you can see there's small little indentations all over the floor of the box. Mm-hmm. And these dividers go in that system, and now you can decide however you want. You could put dividers just in one place. You could put them in 3 places. You could put small, medium, and large dividers. It doesn't matter. There's literally thousands of combinations that you could mix and match and make a box just for you to kind of make that work. So the Edge platform has been the first time we've been able to do that in a box. The gray base and the polycarbonate lid make it very rigid, so it doesn't contort if it gets under pressure. And so now we're able to put these dividers in, and this is kind of the secret sauce behind it. It's a divider that has notches for dividers in it.
Oh, okay.
And what we call these a 4-way, we've got a 3-way, a 2, and a 1. And so this is kind of the assortment of dividers that you would get inside your edge box. And now you can mix and match these to customize the inside now.
Okay. Yeah. So you can have something with like a really big square and then like a little square next to it, or a big double square size of the regular.
And if you go online, we've got a couple time-lapse videos. We gave it to 6 of our pros. Seth Fider has used it, KVD, and we kind of filmed them when they first got the box. They were in the R&D stage, and they'd seen some Frankenstein-y, prototype-y stuff from us, but not the finished ones. The cool thing is not one of those guys built it the same way. Everybody did something different from the minute they touched it. Christine Fisher wanted a box that she could put bigger flutter spoons in and be able to just manage that weird size bait. Van Dam wanted jerk baits in it, but he wanted all different sizes in one box. Seth Fider wanted a Nico rig box, and so he built that. And so everybody just picked it up and said, oh, man, I'm going to do this. And no, wait, I don't want to do that. I'm going to do this now instead. So it was really cool to watch that and just let their brains kind of work and let that Edge Flex kind of solve whatever problem they could dream up, so to speak. So
yeah.
I think that will be a hit within the kayak industry, just because, like Josh mentioned, everybody in kayak fishing, they seem to be into that DIY type of thing.
Sure.
And that kind of like, I don't know what I'm trying to say, but it's like they're trying to be creative with like their own little thing, but still have like the structure there. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I think if it don't take off in the kayak world, I'll be surprised.
Yeah,
that's a good idea.
Thank you. Yeah, it's one of those things that our design team has had this kind of in the cooker or on the drawing board for a long time. But like I said, the Edge platform gave us the strength and the durability to build this, and that was the drawback. Is if you didn't have it in a really good solid platform, these dividers couldn't stay together because there's no molded integrity. So they have to be tough. You can kind of see, this is the big one out of the 3700, but they're thick. They're thicker than a standard divider because they have to be really tough. I mean, they don't bend at all. They're really durable to make that work. So I've got a couple of them rigged up, but a good example, and it goes back, Josh, what you're talking about. We can talk about jackhammers again or whatever, but this is the hardest lure to store that everybody throws, right?
Yep.
A standard 3/8 ounce spinnerbait or a buzzbait, they don't fit in stuff. We make 7 spinnerbait boxes to just hold spinnerbaits because they don't go anywhere. So one thing that I built just to talk to you guys about is I've got an Edge Flex box that's kind of a bladed bait box now.
Oh, that's cool.
I've got chatterbaits and jigs down one side. I've got actually a couple of them rigged or trailers down the middle. And I've got 3/8 ounce spinnerbaits down the other side. So now you can kind of see how you could configure this box and not be trapped into one particular size of how maybe you want to put that thing together. So small compartments, large vertical, and then squares, all kind of just built into the same box. And it allows you to put the spinnerbaits right in there with other bladed baits. So they just go right in there. You could fit them in. And you're kind of good to go. So
I need to get
that's
me
cool
one.
because I have like one of the standard like old school like spinnerbait boxes, and it's kind of like it's a small box but it's deep, and that thing is a pain like as far as storage for in a kayak. Like I'm like, where do I put this thing? Like everything else slides in, it's kind of fitting together, and then I have. Always after I've loaded up the black pack, I'm like, where do I put this thing?
That one item, right?
Yeah, and a lot of times it gets neglected. Like I'm like, you know what? I don't throw spinnerbaits that much, so I'll just either leave it here or leave it in the truck. Yeah. And I mean, because I have my chatterbaits in a box by themselves, but it's in like a standard like 3,600, box, because that's more of a slimmer a bait that you can make slim in a sense. You can fit it in a standard kind of compartment area compared to a spinner bait. Spinner bait, you're like, so I'm gonna have to have this giant kind of square area out of out of your other lures, and it kind of just doesn't make sense. But I like that how you built that, because it shows it's like, well, I could kind of keep the same, you can call it same style bait, a bladed jig in the same box, because I don't have that many chatterbaits. I throw them, I just don't throw them like a ton to go buy a bunch of them. And I'm the same way with spinner baits. There's a few select ones I like. So now, it's a great idea to be able to combine them and not have that stupid spinnerbait box. I can't stand that thing, dude.
Yeah, same here.
I love it because it works. It works great. And it keeps them nice and separate and organized, but organizing
big,
the box,
man.
itself, I'm sitting there trying to play Jenga in my black pack constantly to figure out, what's the best way of putting this stuff in there. Because as soon as I put it in there, it's like, it's got to be next to 3,500 boxes. It can't be next to a 3,700 box. It doesn't fit at all. So,
But, and the minute you take one out, then it's all upside down and a scramble again, right?
Yeah.
That brings up a good question here, though. You're into kayak fishing. Do you use a crate?
I do use a crate. We make a couple items. We make what we call the V crate. It's a big molded item, and the dividers or the storage kind of comes out at an angle. It's a 3,700 size, and it's a little big for me, to be honest with you. Some people like it. It's got a lot of durability to it. It's got a dry compartment built into it. We also make a soft bag that goes in a milk crate. We call it a soft crate. So it slides in. It's designed to hold 36 or 3,700, and then it's got a couple pouches that flip to the outside. And so I use that probably the most. I don't fish tournaments, and it's more for fun when I'm going. And a lot of times I'm going with my wife or some friends. So I don't feel like I got to take everything with me. We're going to kayak and kind of just goof around and, maybe pull up on the beach or do whatever and do some other stuff. So, I have kind of a system I use and it works for me, but I guess I don't have the same requirements of somebody that's a tournament angler that's going to be out on the water getting after it for 6, 8, 10 hours straight kind of thing.
Yeah. The reason why I bring this up is because you've seen the black pack, right?
Yeah.
So the 3,700 edge box doesn't really fit that well when you have 4 or 5 other boxes in there with it. So I think it's pretty cool that you guys came out with smaller size. I think more people will jump towards that kayak fishing, so it does fit in that crate. That is one of the more popular crates on the market for kayak fishermen. So it's a good idea.
But we also have one that's been designed to hold your guys' crates just perfect. So
that's true. That's true. Yeah, the Yak Gadget crate will hold 6 3,700s and still have room on both sides to move back and forth.
Gotcha.
So, pretty cool.
That other one is just a real tight tolerance. We started making configurations of these sizes, in the 70s, and so everyone is kind of copied these two dimensions. And so whether it's a tackle bag, that's imported under a store brand or ours or a knockoff or whoever, right? They're all roughly that same dimension. Some people make them a little tighter, some are a little looser, but the Plano dimensions are what everybody builds them on. The boxes in the kayaks are built around that. We send boxes to Ranger and Skeeter and Scout boats, and they keep our boxes in their warehouse. So when they're building a compartment, they know they'll fit even. So that's the standard. We kind of built it a long time ago, and it's just that's just what everybody uses. So
I was going to say the standard is the standard.
Yeah. For sure. So I've got the Flexbox in the big size too. I'll show you guys real quick. This is the 3,700 size. And one thing we did here, we got a lot of feedback. This is actually a new dimension this way. It's actually a little bit deeper than our standard, but not as deep as our deep. And what that stemmed from, a lot of anglers wanted a little bit more depth for storage. And as we've seen the advent of different size swim baits and kind of the craze around swim baits, the swim bait was almost too big to go on our standard, but if you put it in our deep, it wasted a bunch of space. So we've added this, what we're calling the mid depth. We're launching it first in the Flexbox. And if it's successful, if people really like it, we'll put it into other things as well now that we've got this platform done. But one thing to note, it's a little bit different. Dimensionally, it should fit in everything else. But same deal, like when you get dividers, it's a pile, right? There's no lack of them. We didn't talk about it before, but they're all pre-cut. They're very precision made, so they fit right in and they go in very snugly. They don't slide out. They don't come out of it. And then all the same information on the bottom. It's got that pre-molded little divider system, so you can lock those in. They stay in place. And then this water wick thing, we didn't really talk about that either, but in the standard boxes, it works as a divider. But in the Flex box, obviously, there are no dividers, so we have to do it a little bit differently. But any one of these dovetails around the edge, no matter where it's at, this water wick will go into that. So if you have an empty section on the side instead of on the top, you can just put it over there. So now this water wick thing will just kind of slide in and go kind of anywhere you want inside that Flex box when it's done. So
yeah, I was gonna ask about that earlier. How exactly does that water wick work? We didn't hit that.
So it is it's basically a desiccant pack. I'll actually pop this one open for you if you want. It's a desiccant pack on the inside. The difference from that and the ones you get in your shoes when you buy them or whatever furniture is ours actually is rechargeable. So you can put it in the oven. It's kind of hard to see, but it's actually labeled. It's got a little instruction on it.
Does it say do not eat?
It does say do not eat. It just, as humans, we're not quite smart enough to know that.
Yeah.
Even though it's in everything. Like, we still need to be reminded.
Put it in the stove, but don't eat it.
I should eat this, right? Man, this is as easily as good as an Oreo cookie. I mean, look how good that is.
That's awesome.
But a desiccant pack inside that, we have a couple different sizes depending on the size of the box. And yeah, it's 20 minutes at 200 degrees. Cooks the water back out of it. You can just lay it back in there, close it back up, and then it's ready to go back in your box and let it go back to work. So, if you're in a rainstorm or once a year, once a season, you got a rainy day, come in, set those out, clean them up, and then you're ready to go back in your box. So,
do you guys sell those separately as well?
We don't sell those separately. We don't sell the standard edge dividers. Honestly, if someone invests in an edge box, we're going to do everything we can to take care of them. So if they lose one or if they, if one gets away from them, call our customer service line. We'll get you fixed up. So a lot of guys, especially on dividers, when the standard boxes, you get a bunch, you don't even use half of them, right? You end up with a pile of them. I got a box of dividers in my garage.
You need another flex box just for the dividers. Yeah. That's cool.
When I go into our customer service team and just take them all in there, and then they use them. They get if somebody calls in, then they just send them out to them. So
that's cool.
Yep. But this is just a quick show and tell of the big flex box. Just a few other ideas for you. You can see you can make one big compartment, maybe for a pair of pliers or tools of some sort. Full size spool of line in here, and in the same box you can put weights and hooks or small items all in one box. So you kind of, again, get that idea of real small compartments, big squares, oblong for baits, a big compartment if you wanted something like that. Really, the options are up to you. It's kind of whatever you can dream up. The Flexbox will give you a way to kind of put that together and make that configuration something you can work with.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Yeah, we're excited about that. The feedback has been great. We've had such demand for it. We actually, a lot of times show things at ICAST, and then we launch them around January 1, get them in stock in December. We actually moved all our production up. we should be having these in stock late October now. So we were able to gain about 60 days. So for the folks that aren't covered up in ice in the winter months, you know, if you live down south, you'll be able to pick these up. Or if you're just a little cabin fever and you're short and tackle, you can get them in the winter months and get you all set up with things by the time the weather gets good again next year. So.
Yeah, just in time for Christmas too.
There you
Have
go.
a
Yeah.
good holiday.
That's pretty impressive. You guys bumped it up 60 days too, given our current situation. Because I know it's affecting the fishing industry pretty hard.
It is. You know, I think everyone is having a year that you couldn't have predicted in a million years. Of course,
Yeah.
right? Went from having a good start to the season to everybody stay home, factories got closed, a lot of things. No one knew what was going on, and then it went straight to everybody shopping and fishing, and you know, no summer camp and no school and no little league and needing to get outdoors. So we're all struggling to keep up with demand as tackle manufacturers. The good news is we were ahead of the curve last year when we launched Edge. Edge Flex was kind of on the drawing board already, so we weren't flat-footed when we started this year. You know, we had a lot of R&D testing as early as January, February, and March, and we were ready to go to ICAST with full, finished, labeled, ready to go samples. So because we were that far along, we were able to move that production up, and we're selling out of so many things. You might as well bring the new stuff in at that point, right?
Yeah, yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm glad you guys are keeping it working and everything.
Yeah,
I know a lot of people aren't.
we were lucky because we make more than fishing tackle. So while we did have to change our manufacturing process and social distance and change our workstation setup, we weren't required to completely shut down during that period of time. So we were able to continue with some manufacturing. A lot of people don't know it, but Plano makes tackle storage, of course. That's what we're known for. We make gun cases. We actually make emergency boxes out of a tackle box style because the plastic can be sterilized versus a soft bag. You know, if it gets a spill on it in an ambulance or an emergency situation, you can sterilize a plastic box where you couldn't do that with something else. So we make parts and pieces of molded plastic storage for many things in many different industries. So
I did not know that.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, my bow's over there in a Plano case.
Yeah, there you go. Right. Yeah.
You guys make everything plastic. So I'm pretty much convinced my computer has Plano parts in it. So what was it? I did see though that you guys, yeah, I know you guys are invading everything. It's great. I want to see the tackle bag that you were going to show us.
Oh,
if you don't mind.
Yeah, no, absolutely. That's great. You know, we make a series of tackle bags called the Z series, and the Z stands for zipperless. It was designed around a tackle bag series that's very water resistant and user friendly at the same time. So what these are, this is our newest rendition of the Z series bag. Completely updated and completely redone for the year. Some really cool features that I think will be great for a lot of tackle saltwater anglers, kayak anglers. It just really is designed for that wet environment. So like we said, no zippers everywhere. The pockets on the sides are designed to dry quickly. They're just a mesh pocket. But one thing that I really like about this is the way this lid fits. It's kind of a snug fit, and it's designed to shed water to the outside instead of letting it in. So while this isn't waterproof, the material most certainly is, but the lid doesn't seal. We kind of do everything we can to make it shed water to the outside. One other thing our guys did this year is they made this bag semi-rigid. So while it is soft and you can compress it and it's easy to carry, it's easier to put down in a locker, it's kind of convenient. When you have it completely empty like this one, it doesn't fall down in on itself. You know, a lot of inexpensive tackle bags, they kind of just fold up like a wet sack. So they're hard to get stuff in, or if you just have one or two things in there, they kind of just all crumple up. So there's a lot of structure in this, and that helps with the waterproof design as well. One other cool thing our guys did on this is this molded bottom is completely waterproof. The feet actually let it stand up off the deck of a kayak or a boat. But we went the extra step and used this center area and give it another point of contact. So instead of just 4 feet, it's actually got 5, and the inside one is actually oversized. And these are all a poly-molded rubber insert into the plastic. So when you set this down, it doesn't want to slide all over the deck. So whether it's a saltwater boat or the slick deck of a kayak, when you set this down, it'll really stay in place well and not slide around, especially when it gets weight in it. You get a little bit of downward pressure. It just really holds itself in place very, very well throughout the day.
I like
Josh?
that. It looks like a good like river bag.
Yeah.
You know, have it set up, quick to move. It's got a strap on it, you know. So
it's got a nice strap, that you can extend out as a shoulder strap. It comes with a couple lashing points on the back, so if you wanted to tie it down or you wanted to strap something to it, a pack rod or whatever, clip a water bottle or a carabiner to that, it comes with that as well. But just a really well thought out bag, really, really good. The Z Series has been a good seller for us, but I think these are going to be even better because it's got so many great features kind of built into it.
yeah.
Josh, I was going to mention to Josh, did you see that thing on the front, the black square?
Yeah.
Yeah.
New spot for your NRS knife.
There you go.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah, those are, notorious for being on PFDs for those who aren't, watching this on YouTube. On their actual tackle box that he was just showcasing, there's the black square pieces that people slide their knives onto and their PFDs. So that's pretty cool because there's a lot of ways you can, utilize those, not just for, knives by any means, but yeah, that's awesome. And you said they're on the back side too, right?
Yep, there's 2 on the back,
Yeah.
2 across the back, and then 1 on the front. Correct.
Yeah, that is cool.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
How many boxes does that thing fit and what size?
This one will actually hold, this is a 3600 and we make it in 3700 size. This will hold 4.
Okay.
4
That's
easily.
pretty good.
Inside there.
Good
Yep.
size.
Yep. And then we added a couple bags to that lineup. We haven't had these in the past, but this is a truly welded, seamed, waterproof backpack design. So,
Nice.
it comes with some nice shoulder straps. It's a full roll top design that clips on the top. It's got a nice, hook and loop Velcro closer, so it really seals up nice and tight. You can open it wide open. I've got some rain gear in here. I'm actually heading to Florida later in the week, so I've got a little bag. I've already started packing for my trip down there, but roll it up and it just converts it to a great grab handle.
I like that.
But yeah, it's 20 liter. And then we also are making a waterproof duffel that's 50 liters. So, really that would be a weekender bag. If you're going camping out of your boat or whatever, like maybe up in the Boundary Waters or something, perfect for that. Just a bag that you could store all your gear in and know it's going to stay safe and dry. These do have a couple rubberized zippers in them. But then none of them compromise the main compartment. This one is just an expansion zipper, so you can shove a water bottle down inside here. It's open at the top. And then there's one right behind the backpack straps, too, that just give you a little slash pocket to stick like your wallet in there or something maybe you need quick access to, fishing license or whatever. But none of them go into the main compartment. So everything inside there is controlled, protected by a completely waterproof area and welded seams, nice tight seal. And of course, if this one goes overboard, it's going to float too, because it'll trap enough air in there that'll stay above water. So
Cool. I like that.
That's the new Z Series. I think, tons of kayakers love a bag like this, whether it's emergency gear, rain gear, lunch for the water, whatever it might be. This is the only one that we make. These series, the backpack comes with a couple stowaways. The duffel bag is really more a piece of luggage, and it doesn't come with stowaways. But every other bag that we sell, no matter what price point, what family, they all come with some stowaways inside of them to get you started.
Yeah, that bag looks like a good dry bag for somebody who's like an outdoor photographer too, with like really expensive DSLR camera or something like that.
Sure. Yep. Yeah, it'd be great for that. One thing we did there, we didn't talk about pricing necessarily or anything, but the goal there was to give the anglers a good waterproof bag and still be affordable. The backpack and the waterproof duffel are $89. This guy is $69, so under $100, and you still have really durable, waterproof or water-resistant bags that you can count on. There's other brands out there, that you could spend 3-4 times that much on a waterproof bag. So.
I dig that it's got the shoulder straps. Like, cause one thing that's real nice about that is, say you're packing up your boat and you got your boat like down by the water, and you're trying to, I don't know, keep clear of whatever launch point it is, and it just makes it, it gives you more hands to be able to carry more gear down to your boat or whatever. That's one thing that I've always, get tired of doing, is having to make, multiple trips back and forth to get this and that. And it's cool that you guys made a dry bag that, all you have to do is throw it around like a backpack and take it down there and you're good to go. Because that's one thing I haven't gotten to do this year, just because the COVID thing kind of messed everything up, for everybody. But is to try to do some more overnight, like, stay on the river trips. And that's a really cool bag, because I have dry bags, but they're all just, you carry them by hand, and then you're like, it's usually got lightweight stuff in it, you know what I mean? So it's like, I could be carrying something heavier, but now here I am trekking down the hill with these, 1 pound of clothing or whatever. And that's a really good idea, just to go ahead and throw some shoulder straps on it, because I have yet to come across, not that there isn't any, but I have yet to come across one in the store, like one that has shoulder straps. I knew they made them, but, so.
Sure. Yep. Yeah. And that'll be a good one. And that big duffel, actually, it's got just grab handles, but they convert to a backpack strap too. So you can throw that big duffel over your back and, carry it down. So yeah, I mean, we always got a bundle of rods in our hands, right? We got a cooler maybe, or we got just other gear, paddle or electronics or whatever we're packing around. So yeah, it's great to be able to throw that over your shoulder and have your hands still free to carry other stuff with.
Yeah. The crazy things we do to catch fish, right?
That is right. Yes. That's it. Hey, any questions for me? Anything we didn't cover or forgot to go over? Edge is a big line, and we're just not going to have time to do it all. But I really appreciate you letting me show the new stuff and spend a little more time on that.
Yeah,
man.
Appreciate you coming on for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you for taking the time to come talk to us. I remember because it was basically the jig chatterbait box. That was the first one of the Edge series, right? You guys had released. At least that's the first one I came across.
Yeah,
and
we released.
It took me a minute to go out. Mm-hmm. Yeah, it took me a minute to get out to the store and check it out. And by the time I did, I was like, well, I didn't know there was all these other ones.
Yeah.
I was kind of sitting back laughing. I'm like, there's that. And then all of a sudden the terminal box came out. But I really liked it. It's one thing I've always struggled with, is finding a tackle box, or tackle storage, like something that I like. I've had Plano boxes. I've had the standard ones that aren't waterproof at all. I've had the Flambeau ones that have the little blue rust preventer dividers in it. And the biggest thing over and over and over again that I've always come across on like kind of the cheaper boxes, just the overall durability. You mentioned something about your dividers in the new Edge Box series and how like rigid they are. That was one thing I cannot stand, is sitting there trying to, and this be a brand new box, sitting there pushing these dividers, and I'm like, everything just doesn't fit good. Like, I'm like, I don't even know if that's slid in properly, and at half the time it's not. And then like, you go to open your box and it looks warped and just kind of out of place. And when you were showing us those new dividers, I'm like, that's what I've been looking for. Just something. I'm willing to spend the money. I'm willing to drop coin on anything, as long as I know that it's durable and it's going to last me some time, and because I got tired of just buying cheaper boxes for so long. But like, that was kind of the only options out there available. That's let me backtrack on that. One thing that I did like always was the boxes I got with my boat that came from you guys. Those little 3500 with the waterproof seal, those things were like, that was where it kind of started to change my mind about, yeah, spend a little bit more money and you will get a nicer product, obviously, when it comes to tackle storage like that. So I do appreciate you guys being innovative and always kind of pushing forward. Plano seems to be ahead of the game. You guys are always kind of stepping it up like, hey, we've got this new thing, check this out. You guys are always into a lot of good R&D to make, whether or not it's more expensive or not. Like I said, I don't really care. You're going to spend more money on things that are built better, and that's just how it goes nowadays. But I'm real excited to see what else you guys come up with. Like, it'll be cool to see it.
Well, the boys back in the factory and the engineering, we're really lucky because we've got some employees that have worked for us for 20, 30 years. They really know the manufacturing side. They're really good at it. A large group of our employees are all anglers or hunters. So they get out. It's not like they're making this stuff based on somebody told them. They're doing it because they fish it every day. One of our engineers fishes all kinds of tournaments. He lives in Wisconsin and fishes in tournaments up there. He's a hardcore ice guy. We've got myself who live down here in the Carolinas. We've got a couple folks that live in Texas. So we really kind of come at this from an angler's point of view first. And I was on a call with one of our product guys today, and we were looking at some bags that we're going to hopefully be launching at ICAST 21. And we're like, well, what would you use that for? It's like, well, how would you use that? Well, what if it had a zipper over here? And, so we do a lot of that and just test it ourselves because we fish and we're passionate about it. So.
Awesome. Well, we're winding down. So, again, Chris, thanks for coming on the show and talking about the products. It was fun. We'll have you back on again. We got some more ideas for future shows. So.
All right.
We're going to talk nets.
Yep.
Yeah, we'd love to talk nets.
Looking forward to
we've
that
got
one.
Stuff. I'm lucky enough to do the Fraybill side too. And let's talk about what makes a good net versus a bad net and show you a few things. It's kind of one of those things. They're a little taken for granted sometimes, that a net's that thing you don't always need one, but when you need one, you really need one, right? It's really important that you have a good one. So,
yeah. Do you have anybody?
Or you could be like Brad and think you're professional and you're boat flipping and breaking your rods all the time, right, Brad?
I don't boat flip. I've done that once. I broke one rod boat flipping a big fish in a kayak. I forgot about that.
Check me out. What are you talking about? You tell us about it all the time.
We'll just say that, Brad.
Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Anybody you'd like to shout out or where anybody could contact you or follow you on social media?
We're Instagram, Facebook, or YouTube is Plano Fishing. That's the place to find us. Easy to connect. We're running a lot of different promotions and things all the time on there, giveaways. We use our anglers to give us a lot of great content. So check us out there. If you want to learn about those Edge Flex boxes, there's a ton of videos up on YouTube on them right now that show the configurations and how they work. So that'd be a good place to go. And, just thanks for having me on. I really appreciate your time. And if there's something you need, or if there's, you hear about things through your channel, or if you have questions, you guys know how to get a hold of me. We'd love to get back in touch or get back on the show if you can put up with us for another hour or something. So.
Oh, yeah, definitely. It was fun. It flew by.
It did. I know. I looked up and said, wow, it's already been an hour. It's hard to believe. So.
All right, Josh, close us out.
All right, Chris, like Brad mentioned, thank you very much for coming on the episode. We look forward to having you back on. And for all of our listeners, thank you for joining us for another episode of the Final Cast. I know there's been a lot of questions in regards to our bracket tournament. For those who don't know, Dustin was sick for a little bit. He's been dealing with work and a lot of stuff. So we're trying to get that final matchup completed. And as soon as Dustin gives us the all good, all clear, we will get that scheduled. You know, we do apologize. This thing went out a lot for about almost like a month further at this point than what we anticipated, but hopefully we'll get that soon taken care of. So just hang with us. We'll get it resolved as soon as possible. Again, we apologize, but yeah, thank you for joining us again. We'll see you guys next time. Bye.
Thanks
See ya.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for tuning in to another killer episode on Paddle and Fin. Don't forget to go check out our website at paddle_and_fin.com. Don't forget to check out the YouTube channel at Paddle and Fin. If you got a question, comment, want to hear from a future guest on a future episode, feel free to email us at paddle_and_fin@gmail.com. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Paddle and Fin on Facebook and Instagram. Shout out to our show supporters, Angler. The Angler button and app just makes for a better time on the water and creates a virtual logbook for every fishing outing out on the water. Shout out to Rocktown Adventures, located in Northern Illinois, for all your kayaking, camping, and hiking needs. TRC Covers, protect your investment. Catch Products, shout out to Catch Products. Go to catchproducts.com and put the Paddle and Fin logo directly on your catch board. Shout out to Jig Masters Jigs. When in doubt, get the jig out. Go to jigmasters.com, use promo code PNF20 and save 20% on all your jig and tackle needs.